How do we enter this state of choiceless awareness? That state in which there is no preference, there is no aversion, there is no desire. There's simply a flow with everything that is. Actually, we never enter that state because choiceless awareness is what we are. So here I just want to cover how what we are is this choiceless awareness. And one good example to begin with is to find that the mind seems to be always in a state of preference. It's always having a sort of conversation or dialogue with itself. This is very important because this gives us an analogy of what it is to be choiceless awareness, or actually realize that we are choiceless awareness. One of the analogies that we use sometimes is that there is a conversation, right? There is a dialogue in your mind that is, you see it as a topic arising, comes up, and then there is a sort of interaction with it. There's a conversation, there is maybe an argument, sometimes there is agreement or disagreement, and we begin to see this unfolding in the mind as a sort of conversation, right? We call it inner dialogue, and it sometimes is just unbearable, it's frustrating because we want to meditate, right? And we know that something is happening that is not allowing us to meditate, or so we feel, okay? So this analogy is, if you're talking to somebody, and you can imagine being the one who is talking to the other person, right? And the other person keeps interrupting you and keeps adding to your conversation. Whenever you say, well, yes, because when I went to the living room, oh yes, I know that the living room is the space in which you go, and there's a commentary on it, keeps interrupting you, and then you feel like you're not being, the person is not listening to you, right? And what happens if not a distorted understanding of what you are trying to say? If you keep being interrupted by the other person is never going to understand what you're saying, because it's already predetermined what you are saying. It's already come into conclusions about what you're saying before you even say it, right? It's creating its own story in its mind. So the same thing is happening when we are in our identity with the mind, always responding to the mind and interacting with the mind, as the mind. So this is why it's important to recognize who we are in the moment. Are we the mind? Are we that voice that is interacting with the mind, that feels frustrated, or that thinks that knows, and that just simply wants to corroborate or validate? Are we that, or are we something else within the field of experience? So we do our initial investigation as always. We sink into the heart of the self, and meditation on the self is what this is about. We sink into the heart of the self, and you see, am I the voice responding, or am I aware of the voice responding? You have to investigate this. If you think you are the voice, then you have to investigate it. You have to see if you really are that. Listen to the voice that is responding to whatever topic arises in the mind, and even the topic itself. If you are that, then when that ceases, you should cease to exist. And it happens that another topic may come up, and yet you are aware of that. Well, that means that whatever was before, it's no longer there, and yet you remain. So you investigate and you see, I'm not that. I am that which remains as awareness. And every time a topic arises, and there is a tendency to respond to it, a dialogue, we simply realize, that's not me, that's happening. See it as it subsides. Watch it. It'll subside. It'll dissolve. The more you realize this. To the contrary, when we feel that we are that response, that reaction, then we begin to give it more power. That's why we say you're given identity to your thoughts. You're identifying with the mind, because the mind is the one responding. The mind is the one creating the reaction. And this goes up in the levels of emotional reactions. We think we are the emotion. So the more we reinforce our understanding, which is a very simple understanding that arises from simply investigating who am I in the moment. I am awareness. And does awareness have any preference? It doesn't. It is choiceless awareness. What I am is choiceless awareness. So the more you practice this, the more you realize what you are in the moment, the less these dialogues will take more power and they begin to subside over time. That identity that thinks is the one responding or reacting or defining or figuring out begins to lessen. Now, sometimes we fear that if I stop being that voice, if I stop being the analyzer, the controller, the one that manipulates the variables and understands everything conceptually, if I stop doing that, then I won't have any knowledge at all. Well, let's go back to the analogy of the person that keeps interrupting you. Imagine that that person stays silent and doesn't say anything, just simply listens to you. It doesn't react to the concepts that you're saying, the stories that you're telling, the ideas that you're explaining, because that's what the mind is doing. And you're the one listening. So imagine that there is silence and that you are being listened. How would you feel? Prior to that, you would feel frustrated. That's why the mind feels frustrated, because there is an I thought, a separate self that is always responding and trying to figure out what the mind is saying. And it doesn't feel heard, understood, and seen. Your mind is waiting to be understood, to be seen, to be heard. And if we keep interrupting it, we never understand what it wants to say. Just like the other person can't understand what is saying because, or what is being said because it keeps interrupting. The moment we begin to establish silence, we listen. Then we listen fully. And you would see that even in your conversations with somebody, you'll see that your mind is doing the same thing. As the person is talking, you're already figuring out what they're saying. And it doesn't matter anymore what they say because you already have a good image of what they're saying. What if you don't? What if you stay silent? That's a beautiful thing to do for everybody. Most importantly, it has to start with your own mind. You have to silence that identity with the narrative, with the voice, and simply stay in choiceless awareness, which is really what you are. Just like we improve our relationship with the mind, we improve our relationship with others as we begin to listen more, listen deeply, listen at a higher level, at a higher degree of understanding. Because now there is nothing blocking you and your mind, which is only an interference thought that says I, and I understand, and I should, and I shouldn't, and so on. That's removed. There's just pure silence, choiceless awareness, listening to the mind. This is just one of the so many aspects that arise from us realizing who we are. We could call it choiceless awareness. I like that. But there are so many other things that we begin to see that integrate seamlessly in this understanding as we begin to sink more and more, day by day, minute by minute, not only in our sitting practice, but through our daily activities. The more we do this recognition, the more we perceive all these transformations and changes that are available to us, always, just because we become silent and we listen to the mind. I hope this video is helpful. As I said in the previous video, YouTube has been penalizing me because I didn't publish for a couple of months and my videos are not being distributed to even my subscribers. So if you find that this video is helpful for somebody that you can share the video, go ahead and do that. And of course, leaving a comment, giving a like, and all that thing kind of stimulates the algorithm. Hopefully the video can reach all of my subscribers and more people out there thanks to you. So I appreciate you just tapping or clicking on those buttons. And as always, I hope the video was helpful to you more than anything. And I'll see you in the next one.